Welcome to Calgary Connected, a Communities First podcast series where we talk with our city leaders about the issues and opportunities facing Calgarians. Every 2 weeks, we'll dive deep into topics like housing, infrastructure, affordability, and more, all leading up to the October 2025 municipal election. Hello, I'm Tom Spear, your host for the series of podcasts presented by Communities First, a coalition of like-minded people seeking election for Calgary City Council. Welcome. Last fall, the province of Alberta announced it would allow official parties to run individuals or slates of candidates under a party banner. Several such parties have emerged in Calgary, ready for this October's municipal election. Among the first is Communities First. Joining me today is Communities First mayoral candidate Sonya Sharp and Dan McLean, who's seeking re-election in Ward 13. Thank you both for doing this. I'll start with you, Sonya. Sonya, what has been your experience with municipal parties?
Well, my official experience will be how we're working together as a group right now as an official party moving forward to the 2025 election. Unofficially, we would be lying to ourselves if we didn't think there was a party elected in 2021, which, kind of took over for the last 3.5 years. And some of them have decided this isn't their calling, or they're done with it. So here we are moving forward with putting a party together under the umbrella of provincial legislation.
Let me ask you that. What was the genesis of Communities First? How did it come about?
Well, I would say that the founders, there was 5 of us that got together and really did not like the way things had been going in the last 3.5 years, and put together a party of like-minded individuals to move forward, roll up our sleeves, and get work done in more thinking about what Calgarians are wanting. We're not based on ideology. We're based on getting the work done. And that's the kind of the genesis of the foundation, how it started. And we're growing from there.
What made you decide to get involved with this?
I had some reservation, actually, when the province first came out with this idea of party system, only because I didn't know what sort of regulations we would be working with. Once I saw the regulations and saw there was a lot of area of gray, and that there was no party whip and there was no banner, I kind of fell in love with the idea more, and so worked with the founding members to put this together and started to create some sort of candidate selection criteria in order to grow this party into as many members as we can before the election.
How do you decide who gets to be a member of Communities First?
Everyone that's interested gets an application form. It's a very healthy application form. There's like 32 pages. And they go through a lot of information on there, some of it which I don't even see because it's personal information. And we do have a vetting process where an executive director looks at that. But if everybody is happy with let's call it a resume, we meet with that individual, have a coffee with them, very relaxed, get to know them a little bit. Because if these are people you're going to be working with, can you actually sit in the same room as them? And so what sort of things outside of politics are they also interested in? You spend a lot of time together. And so the selection criteria is, I would say, intense. And then we as a caucus would decide if we should be moving forward with that individual, and do they fit what Communities First policy and principles, I would say, like our policies and principles, but also are they a fit for our team? That's what we really are. We're a team. And that's how we want to move forward as.
What would you say is the difference between, the informal alliance among councillors that have been, present in the past, with the more formal structure of a party?
I'll say right out of the gate, I think there was a party whip in 2021. There was a party whip amongst those individuals, and they can fight me tooth and nail, and I know there was. And so I think when that party whip finally left, they kind of fell apart a little bit, and then they tried to bring themselves back together in their, I would say, similar ideology. And the differences between us, there is no party whip. People and members of Communities First can vote in a way they want to vote. If someone is clearly passionate about something that they want to move forward with, and another member of the party doesn't really, I don't know, like they wouldn't fall in love with that idea, or they don't want to support it, as long as you justify your why, no one's getting kicked out of a party. No one's being threatened for votes and things like that. So we're a formal party, but not with a party whip, but also not the same type of party, I would say, structure as your provincial federal government.
Now, when people think of a party, they often think of, well, what's the party's philosophy? Right, center, left.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that?
Is normal an option? Because I would say when I look at what options are out there right now, we're just normal Calgarians and some new candidates and incumbents that are just really wanting to move Calgary forward in the right direction. There may be people on this party that lean a bit more left or maybe lean a little bit more right, but I would say our city is looking for balance, and balance is center. And there's not a conservative way to fill a pothole or a progressive way to fill a pothole. Calgarians just want you to figure out what to do and how to move forward as a council in their best interest. They're taxpayers, and all those taxpayers might actually fall under different banners provincially and federally. We need to remove the partisan politics from City Hall, and it's been very apparent for the last 3.5 years that that hasn't been happening. So now it's time to do that.
And of course, people are going to say, do you have an affiliation with any provincial or federal party?
We do not. We do not have affiliation. Like I said, there might be some members of the party that do have affiliation on their personal side of politics, but there is no affiliation with with Communities First, with any party municipally or sorry provincially or federally. And in my eyes, it doesn't matter who's in power. It's all taxpayer money, and I am willing to take any government money in order to support my constituents.
Is there a concern, though, that members of Communities First will follow whatever philosophy party has to agree with the position they're taking?
I say that you could always have a healthy debate and a healthy discussion. There are things popping up right now that the provincial government is kind of pushing on municipalities to support. And so the way I look at it is if they're pushing something on municipalities to support, what are our constituents saying? Is that a priority to them? Because if it's not a priority to them right now, I think we need to park that idea and then justify to the government of Alberta why we're not moving forward with it at this time. It could be something in the future. But right now, I know Calgarians are looking for core services to be delivered, safer streets, affordable housing in the sense of living affordably, and making sure our infrastructure is up to par in our growing city. That is what we should be focusing on. There are these other nice to haves that are lingering, but if they're not a priority to Calgarians, let's not waste our time on that right now.
Let's expand a little bit on that.
Sure.
How will you make the decision on how you and your members will vote on any particular issue?
Well, we are already kind of brainstorming, and obviously we've come out with 7 principles. What's important is those core things that we've aligned ourselves on right now, we should always be voting in the same direction with that. And if there are things that, pop up that a certain member of the party is passionate about, if you can't convince all 8 members, because that's what it takes 8 to vote or to pass anything, then maybe you should reevaluate if that's something that you bring forward with. And so I'll be honest, I could see Communities First, if elected as a group, there would be more efficient meetings. There will be more consensus on moving things forward, and Calgarians will see a difference on what's being delivered to them. And so, like I said, each of us are very individual, but we are all swimming in the same direction. And we really do need to make sure we're focusing on what Calgarians are asking for. And there will be less uncomfortable conversations and meetings if we stick to that.
So, depending on what the issue is, then Communities First could come in and have already pre-debated an issue and decided on where they stand on it, eliminating all that wasted time at City Council.
I would say that you would have a good idea, unless you have to be amenable to persuasion, which in public hearings, but there's generally, if you're working with a group of people and you're all on the same page and you've already kind of asked your questions behind the scenes to administration, you ask some of those questions in public, which is important, then things should be efficient. We should not be in meetings for like 14 to 16 hours and making really big decisions after dinner. Another thing that goes with that is the amount of overtime that we spend on administration when we stay past those times. And so that's also a benefit of being efficient and knowing what you want to, like, your outcome to be that day at council and how you can deliver things quicker and then move on to the next thing because you are busy. And Calgarians are so tired of us wasting time. And so, yeah, we need to change things up a little bit here.
As a coalition, how will you remain accountable to each individual ward?
Oh, you'll remain accountable because they will tell you. If you vote a direction that the majority of that ward does not agree with, they will let you know. And if you are a liked counselor, you'll also know that because people do take the time to tell you. But accountability at council is top priority. And when you're accountable, you set that direction and stage for the next layer, which is your executive leadership team. When you show accountability yourself, they're made to show accountability. And we are policymakers and we govern the public purse. So then when we say that we're accountable for certain things, we can push that back on administration and say, this is what you're accountable for. And again, that's what Calgarians are looking for. They're looking for accountability at City Hall. Own it. And if you made a mistake, it's okay. We're all human. And you can say, you know what? I shouldn't have voted that way or I shouldn't have done it this way. But you got to leave that pride at the door and realize you're there for the people that you serve. And that goes from the top all the way to the bottom.
Do you have any concern that one or two members might dissent?
I think if they're supported in the right way, they could. But it all depends on what everybody's looking for in the next 4 years. Are you looking for just a job? Because if you're looking for just a job, this isn't the job for you. If you're looking to make a difference and serve Calgarians, then, show up and show us that and be part of a group of people that want to make a difference in Calgary.
Let me ask you a little bit about that. How do you see Communities First manifesting itself in council?
That we have a lot of different personalities on Communities First, some of which are already in council right now. I would say that, it's good to show up and be serious and do your job. But some days are stressful. And some of my colleagues who voted against me in previous, I would say, council meetings, always say there's a bit of sense of humor I like to bring because you got to show a little bit of like life, right? And you've got to be able to do that. And sometimes even Councillor McLean and I know he's here and he's speaking to this as well. We don't always vote the same. And it's okay. And so we still are able to say, well, you didn't vote that way, but, and it's okay to do that. It's okay to kind of call each other out a little bit, but also know that your vote is justified by the reason what the constituent wanted. And my vote would have been justified by what my constituents wanted. And so I think that positive energy and being optimistic and moving something forward manifests in a positive way.
Let me ask you a tough question.
Okay.
Why will Communities First result in better governance for the city of Calgary?
Because we have the right people at the table. We have the right leadership. We have the right energy. And we are listening to Calgarians. And when you're listening to people, you're delivering what they want. And when you're not listening to people, they're not putting you back in those seats.
Sonya Sharp, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Dan McLean is seeking re-election in Ward 13 in the southwest corner of the city. Dan?
Hello, nice to meet you, Tom.
Dan, why did you decide that this coalition, this party, was the way to go?
Well, I think, Tom, what we were trying to achieve is just to formalize what was already existing. There already was what we considered a party apparatus in the last election cycle, where there was a large group of candidates that were recruited, funded, and basically won a lot of their seats, where several of us on council that were not part of a party and were running independent found ourselves in a minority. So we wanted to change things this time around and level the playing field, one might say.
How did Communities First come about?
Bill 21. So the province looked at this as well, and they saw us being a little lopsided, where again we had a party infrastructure that was already being utilized, or what they called a slate in the past elections in Edmonton and Calgary. So they came up with some legislation that allowed for parties, which then we looked at and said, well, we have the minority on council that I think would consider the common sense councillors. That's how they labeled us. I won't say what they labeled the other group, but we looked at it and says, well, why don't we just see if we can then, again, level the playing field, recruit and talk to some other like-minded people with the same ideas, and start up a party that was not that represented the community. The Communities First, and that's how the name came about.
Was there any one aspect that you said to yourself, this is the group I want to be associated with?
Well, you could tell already on council that there were several of us already voting, again, what I think was in the interest of our communities. And so that was when we looked at it and said, well, we might as well formalize this again. Let's see if we can look at other, we, you saw the opposition, I guess. We were like the opposition in council. And so the majority, all of their voting and their agenda was very, very unpopular. So we looked at it and said, well, maybe if we, how about we represent the city? How about we bring back trust and confidence in City Hall? Because it's been lost over this last election cycle. So that was the huge motivation, was to restore confidence and trust back in City Hall with some common sense councillors, and that, hence the formation of Communities First Party.
What do you see as the difference between kind of the informal alliances of the past and the more formal alliance now?
Well, you'll see again with the current council. I saw people voting completely against their constituents' wishes, even against maybe some of their personal beliefs, because I believe they were whipped into voting in a certain manner. Communities First has and always will be representing our ward first. There will be no party whip. There will be nobody saying you have to vote this way. Even right now, some of the people that are part of this party, Sonya, Terry, Andre, and myself, we don't always agree on. We will vote differently sometimes. So that the independence will still remain. So it's formalized as a party, but a different party. We're not set up to align with the UCP or the NDP or the Liberal Party. We're our own entity representing the municipalities that in the wards that we are elected in.
Let me ask you to expand on that a little bit. Like, a party does imply a unified group with a set agenda, which some would say, well, you automatically have to vote as a bloc. Is this what Communities First is?
So to be clear, what has happened in the past is you'll have 5, 6, 7, 8 candidates run in a ward. So, and then everybody competing for that same vote. Last election cycles, if you were organized like they were with the Calgary's Future Party, well funded, organized, and recruited, running one candidate with one message and 8 people over on the other side, you'd be splitting votes. So this time around, what this is designed to do is that people can then identify their candidate with other candidates and a common platform, so we can maybe stop the vote splitting. This is part of the whole reasoning behind the party system at the municipal level, is to prevent vote splitting and elect, I think, more common sense councillors.
Now, you say sometimes you'll vote on issues as a group, and then sometimes you'll, because there is no whip and no agenda, you'll vote on each individual issue as you see fit. How will you decide that?
By listening to the community, listening to my residents. You knock doors, you go to community events, you talk to community association members. This is again the biggest difference between us and who's the current council makeup, and a lot of different people at government levels. We want to listen to the people, represent the people. So that's how I will vote, and I expect the other people in our group to vote again as well, with the wishes of their community.
Now, Vancouver, among other cities in Calgary or in Canada, they elect civic councillors at large with parties and slates of candidates replacing wards. Is this where Calgary is headed, do you see?
Well, the main difference there, like you said, Tom, is they are representing at large. When all councillors represent the entire city, I find it much more effective that we're going to be representing in Ward 13 in the Southwest that I represent is much different than Ward 7 right downtown, or the Ward 8 in the Beltline. So that's why I think we should keep with the system where we're looking at. We represent our areas of the city first, and then the city secondly, maybe at large as a whole.
Do you think that uh, it will be a big advantage to have this coalition?
Huge advantage. Again, we got our butts handed to us last time, where again it was a well organized and special interest groups that were funding all tons of money, almost $2 million to a certain group of people. This time around, it's going to be much more difficult. The money is really restricted. Uh, let's be honest, some of the big donor class would hedge their bets. They would give money to both sides. This time they're going to have to make a choice. And this is where I think we'll be successful because we're the most common sense choice.
How do you think Communities First will manifest itself in council?
I think we'll get a majority. I mean, Mayor Dave Broncagnier said you have to count to 8. And so that's, I guess, our biggest goal. With Sonya Sharp as our mayor and 7, 8, hopefully more candidates, we're going to not only, like I said, restore trust and confidence, but we're going to work together. This is what we have to do. We don't want to be this current council is so fractious. Everybody's arguing. We don't get along with other levels of government. Everybody's fighting. We want to work together, and this is what our goal is: to work with other councillors, work with the community, work with administration, work with the province, work with the feds.
What role do you think finances played in setting up this coalition?
It's just brand new. So what role has it played so far is yet to be determined. But I think that if you were what has happened again, I'll go to the past because that's what we know. You'll see some of a lot of money came from not only the unions, nothing wrong with unions, but from different developers or business people that had interest in mass densifying our city. Blanket rezoning was the biggest one. They really wanted that, and they got their council elected that would pass that. This is where it's going to be different. I think what we want to see is that's one of our biggest orders of business is to repeal blanket rezoning, whether it's the donor class likes it or not. This is for the people. People don't like it.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, this blanket rezoning is a huge issue. What difference do you think Communities First, had they been in place at the time, would have made?
Well, we wouldn't have passed it carte blanche. We would have listened to the people. The hundreds and hundreds of people. We spent weeks in council listening to people, reading thousands of submissions of people against it. There's alternative ways of doing this. We could look at local area plans, being more thoughtful, looking at individual communities instead of just a big sledgehammer saying we're going to blanket zone the entire city. Again, the community is rightfully upset about this.
Will there be a single spokesperson for Communities First?
I think our mayor candidate, Sonya Sharp, will be the leader of our party. She'll be our main spokesman. But again, everybody has a voice in this party. I'll be speaking on issues for Ward 13. If the press comes in, we all have differing opinions, so we will all have a say. But to be clear, Sonya Sharp's our mayor candidate and will be the leader of this party.
What are you hearing at the door about this idea from in your ward?
The initial response is people are not familiar with it. They do not want to see things affiliated with, say, the what we see provincially or federally. So that's why this party is the what we're hearing is that is exactly that, and that's why we've decided. And our party is structured. It's not really even a party. We call it the non-party party. We're just a bunch of like-minded councillors that want to get in, bring some common sense back to City Hall, focus on the core issues: police, fire, safety, removing your garbage, keep your taxes low. These are the things that people care about, and this is the key platforms of all of us, not as a party uh, plan. This is how every candidate feels.
How are you going to fight that perception that, you're an arm of the NDP or the UCP or the Liberals?
Well, that's going to be a tough one. Let's be honest. This party or this group of like-minded people, we're all pretty much very centrist, center-right, common sense. I like to use that word a lot. Where the other ones do seem to lean a lot further to the left. So I guess you could say they would maybe appeal to the NDP or the Liberal Party. But again, we really just have to focus on our message, and our core platform planks are going to be, like I said earlier, getting back to the basics, keeping your taxes low, uh, public safety, you know, downtown revitalization, just the common sense things that we're being elected to do, what tax dollars should be spent on.
Dan, how and who made the decisions as to who can be part of this party, and how do you decide on the policy that the coalition is going to take?
Again, this is relatively new. So we had the solid four incumbents that had banded together that are like minded and common sense. And even the way it worked then is we would sit down and we would talk and have a general agreement. Just like a democracy, not everybody's going to agree. So we took that approach to looking for other candidates, setting a over 30-page questionnaire, very detailed, vet, with the things you would expect, background checks and whatnot. But again, then all sitting down together and discussing what your ideas are. What would you want to see happen at city council? What are your core priorities? And we want to see alignment. We want to get along. Again, people are tired of seeing all this bickering going back at City Hall and backstabbing and behind the closed doors, the long discussions. I want to see a council of like-minded people that get along. Again, we're all not all going to be just unified on one thing. We have to have different perspectives that come in for different wards. And I think if we could do that, then people will be happy. They'll see a city that's being run efficiently and their tax dollars being spent wisely.
How difficult was it to do that?
Oh, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Again, we're not just picking people that we think are going to just obey, and follow along. Like I think that's what happened last time. We do want independence. We want free thought. We want a democracy. So it's been hard, but there's lots of really good people out there, and I think we've achieved what you will see. As we may not run someone in every ward in the city, and even if somebody does from another party or an independent, we're going to work together. Let's be assured. I want the people to know that no matter what, there's not going to be. We're going to want to all work together.
Let me ask you a real general question to finish up. How will Communities First improve the governance of the city of Calgary?
What we're going to do is actually put the government back in the hands of the people and in council. There's a lot of people that talk about how administration is actually calling the shots. The tail is wagging the dog. So here's what we want to do. We actually want to come in. We have a key. We've already talked about a lot of the agenda that we want to pass in the initial days. If we are successful, you will see a flurry of notices of motions that are designed to bring back some accountability to administration, to make sure that, again, focusing on public safety is a big one, and the core services and keeping your taxes low, finding efficiencies, and just operating, again, with the will of the people. I can't stress that enough. The communities, these are the people that feel that they have not been heard. We have to listen to them, and this is what we're going to strive to do. Again, put the people back in the driver's seat.
Dan, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I'd like to thank both my guests, mayoral candidate Sonya Sharp and Ward 13 candidate Dan McLean, for taking part. And thank you so much for watching. If you have a question, comment, or just want to chat, please contact us at info@communitiesfirstyyc, that's all one word, .com. This has been a Communities First podcast. I'm Tom Spear. Thanks for watching.